Hey everyone, Sion here. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I have a beautiful story for you. Actually, not a story because one of my fellow Christian YouTubers says if we call them story, it feels like it's not some things that happened, but we're supposed to call them accounts. Things that actually happened. So today it's the account of Cain and Abel. Now I call the situation the Adam syndrome, and you'll understand why in just a minute. Cain was the firstborn, and he was a farmer, and his brother Abel was a shepherd. Now the brothers made sacrifices to God, but God favored, everybody know the story, Abel's sacrifice over Cain's sacrifice. Then Cain murdered Abel because he was very jealous, and God punished Cain by condemning him to wander. He was wandering around the earth. So what do we get from that account? A lot of lessons that we can get. Your choices, your path. Imagine this. You're born into this earth. Every step that you take are based on your decisions. They're guided by your decisions. We have free will. Cain and Abel walked on this earth with free will, and they could make decisions. Every step they made was based on decisions. Decisions based on their free will. They made choices and they had consequences. Somehow in our lives, we find ourselves down that road where we make choices that lead to consequences, and it's based on a decision that we made. We made that decision, so we made a choice, and then the choice brought a consequence. However, some of our consequences are negative and some are positive. Now, when we live in proximity with somebody, we have a relationship, we know people, we have family, we have colleagues, then we're also exposed to these people's choices and their decisions and the consequences that they have. And sometimes we notice that people made better decisions and have better consequences than us. Then it creates jealousy, it creates bitterness, and then we wonder, why did this person get these beautiful consequences when I get negative consequences? But we forget that we made the decision. We forget that we had a free will. We forget that every step we take is directed by our decision. Cain was in the same place as we were, and Cain took his brother's life. Sometimes in life, this is what we do. We get to a point where we condemn somebody for having consequences that are better than us. We mess up, then we're quick to blame other people for our choices. We let jealousy blind us. The story shows us that our choices have consequences. It's not about blaming, it's about owning up to what we did. And why do I call it the Adam syndrome? Because if you remember at the beginning in Genesis, this is exactly what happened. The serpent spoke to Eve. Eve ate the fruit. God asked Adam, what happened? Adam said, it's the wife that you put on my side that did it. Blame shifting. And then the wife said, it's the serpent. So obviously the kids, they took after their parents. Not the kids, but one kid took after the parent and did exactly the same thing. Except in this case, Abel was innocent. Abel did nothing. And it was a little different because Cain let evil come into his heart. And God actually asked him, because God knew that he was about to do something bad. And for each of us, this is what happens. When we're about to make bad decisions, God actually nudges us with the Holy Spirit, through the Holy Spirit, and tells us, what are you about to do? I have a friend that says, if you do good by people, you will have a clear conscience. So Cain did not have a clear conscience. He knew what he was about to do, and he knew what he did when he did it. God gave him the consequences again. So he did one action that led to consequences that were negative, and he didn't stop there. He learned nothing from the first situation. Unfortunately, he blamed somebody else for it and condemned the person, killed the person, and then kept on his life, denied what he did, and made a second decision. God gave Cain a second chance. When God gave him a consequence for what he did, but God also said, you know what? I'm going to give you a chance. Even though you are the one that is guilty. You killed your brother. Your brother was innocent. I'm going to give you a second chance. You will wander around the earth, but you will not be killed. So God gave him a chance. I feel like in that story, God is teaching Cain still. God is trying to remind him, hey, even if somebody is guilty and did wrong to you, you could still let them go. You can still forgive them. You can still not condemn them or shift the blame on them or blame them. You can forgive and let go. You can extend grace. Remember, if you made your choices, you should have the consequences. Why make somebody else responsible for your consequences? You understand here that God extended grace to Cain and gave him a chance. So whoever you are, take the habit of not blaming anybody else for your decisions, for your poor choices, or shifting the blame on somebody else. The thing you can do is ask for God's grace so that the consequences that you're supposed to get are not too heavy to bear. Because God can do that. God can give that grace. I call it deeper grace. Even if you were not graceful, He will give you the grace. That's all I wanted to share. I hope somebody's blessed today, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.